How's it going, everybody? So we deal a lot in this program with homes that have rooms that maybe were intended to be outside the thermal boundary and now for whatever reason they're inside the thermal boundary. So back porches, sometimes attics have been finished off that shouldn't have been, things like that. So I want to just take a few minutes to talk to you about, you may have a house that, you've converted an old porch into a room or, part of an attic or whatever, and the thermal boundary of your house, that's the space that separates your conditioned space from your unconditioned space, or the inside from outside. And little things that maybe your house has that you don't even realize is compromising its performance, costing you higher energy bills, things like that. So I'm just going to film some of the work we did on this house. This was a house that had absolutely no insulation in the walls, very little in the attic. The basement was an old brick basement that was kind of suspect. They've got an old porch that's now converted into usable space. So I'm just going to kind of walk through here. I'm still on my iPhone. I'm not real thrilled about the procedure of this, but try to put a little content out there and just show you the work that we do, and maybe it's something you can relate to your own house. So let's take a look at this. So down here, my light here, we've spray foamed this wall and this upper box sill, the connection there. This plate connection up here is huge. It's usually one of the biggest leakers in the house. And then the walls too are usually just death by 1,000 cuts as far as air leakage. So what we do is we air seal the entire basement perimeter, box sill, all the way down to the floor, and then we fire coat it because we have to. But so that's taking care of our thermal boundary here. And then what we did in the walls was we pulled all the siding on the outside and dense packed them. Dense packed insulation insulates and air seals when you do it correctly. So that got us up, to the attic. When we got in the attic, we air sealed all the top plates, added an R49, and then that continued, our thermal envelope around the house. So let's pop outside real quick and I'll show you what we did there. So as we come up out of the basement, you're going to notice this is the kitchen area. This wall would have been the original intent of a thermal boundary. This area here would have had an exterior door on it. This is a back porch. That's been changed. We now have a washer and dryer stack out here. There's plumbing lines, but it's sitting on an old porch floor with no insulation under it. So this thing relied on just heat from the house to heat it, and there was really nothing keeping that heat in. So we'll go outside and kind of talk about what we did here. So here's the exterior of the house. This is that back porch I was just showing you. This wall here was the original thermal boundary, although with no insulation in the house, there really was no thermal boundary. But for all intents and purposes, this would have been it. Since she has moved everything out into this porch, we created a new thermal boundary by including this. We dense packed the walls. We came underneath here and we totally encapsulated the floor with the spray foam. The floor trusses are all sealed up. And then that wall on the inside, remember, we foamed. So the thermal boundary now came from the basement floor on the inside up that wall, comes out to here, and then comes to this wall where we've dense packed it, which, as I said, air seals and insulates with cellulose, and then back up into that attic where we've air sealed top plates and added insulation. This house now has a complete thermal boundary, which she's already noticed huge savings in our energy bill just on the air conditioning side with the measures we also installed. So I just think it's important, like sometime when you're down in your basement, look at your thermal boundary or look at the rooms you have in your house and see if you think they are inside or outside of that thermal boundary. All right, so we talked a lot about all the architectural work we did here, all the spray foam, our thermal boundary, thermal envelope, making it complete and tight. So what we also do is, that keeps the heat in the house. Now we want to create that heat as cheaply as possible. So again, on this one, we put in, brand new furnace. This was that house on the last video that had 100 and I think it was 150, 165,000 BTU furnace. This is a 40. So the amount of gas she's going to be saving that's just staying in the home. We got a correct size furnace in here, correct size air conditioner. We've also coupled that with a higher efficiency water heater. the energy that she's using is all staying in the home now. These appliances are 90 plus, so for every dollar of heat she burns, she's getting 90 cents worth of it. Is kind of a short way to look at that, but it's just coupling measures. It wouldn't have done us any good to just insulate this house and then leave 165,000 BTU furnace in here and an old natural gas crappy water heater. And it wouldn't have done us any good to put these mechanical measures in without insulating. So it really is a two-pronged approach to getting this to make the house work as a system. These guys have done a really good job here, both architectural and mechanical, and this lady's going to see just enormous energy savings. So in every house we weatherize, we run an ASHRAE spreadsheet. I'm careful not to show you the client's name here. We put in all the details of the house, the occupants, square footage, bedrooms, wall height, the original leakage number. Now in this house, you'll see this original leakage number is 2657. The final, I've done the blower door, is 954. So that's significant. We've cut this house, the natural leakage of this house, down by 2/3 pretty much. So we run this calculation to see if we didn't put a fan in this house, for lack of better terms, we've turned this house into a Yeti cooler. It's super insulated and pretty airtight. So if we just walked away without giving this house some way to mitigate moisture, her house would just rot from the inside out. So what we do is we install a continuously running fan. We set the ventilation rate on that, air changes per hour, things like that, so that we give the moisture that's created in a house, and in this, this is a pretty small house, the main moisture source in this one's going to be this bathroom shower. We give it a path out of the house. So we do this under health and safety. I talked in the Fine Home Building podcast about, don't harm the family, don't harm the house, and save energy. This covers not harming the family or the house. If we didn't do this, we would really be doing them more harm than good. They'd be better off having high energy bills and not have to live with the mold and moisture issues that we would have created for them. So this is just like adding a little bit of leakage back into the house to get moisture a path out of it. One other thing I wanted to discuss on this spreadsheet is you can see it's got our existing CFM, and then it gives us a target CFM, that 1913 there. Now, our guys got this down to 954. That is insane. They came in 1,000 points basically under target. That's a lot. And that's largely due to the fact that we dense packed the walls in this house, air sealed the basement. We were able to air seal the entire envelope of this house. But again, that takes a lot of work and a lot of just stick-to-itiveness that our guys have gotten just fabulous at on our architectural crew. So again, that is the whole reason we put that fan in. This house would just be like living inside a Ziploc bag. All right, so up here in the attic, what we've done is, here's the attic hatch. We've insulated it as much as we could. We've got a ceiling issue right here, so we couldn't put R49 quite on it, but we weather stripped the attic hatch. We've added an R49 to this attic. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell up here for scale, but it's a lot of insulation. The guys have their tags over there showing, what was added. They've got heat damming around the chimney. It's pretty nice, smooth, even blow. Got their markers stationed throughout. This is a real nice job. This is like having a down comforter on top of your bed. It's going to keep a lot of heat in this house. We got that's our vent fan that we just showed. You can see it's insulated, so we don't have any condensation issues. Nice straight run, goes right out the roof. This is pretty much just what you want to see when you get up in these spaces. So I just wrapped up the final inspection on that job, and I always end up with a client interview, just kind of an exit interview, make sure they're happy with everything, and just kind of ask them, what it's been like to live in that house since we've got done with it, and what it was like before we got there. So she was telling me stories like, I tried to get her to do an interview with me, but she wasn't having much of it. She's an elderly woman living totally on Social Security, widow, is not getting by on much. She said in the winter she could not turn her thermostat up in that house past 65, or she couldn't afford her heat bill that was already $250 a month on budget billing. She said that she would have to wear a vest or a coat inside all winter. When it was really windy, she would kind of contain herself to one room on the, you know, opposite side of the wind. Uh, she said they had 4 layers of wallpaper on the walls in the living room, and she was afraid to take it off because she knew that was like her only insulation properties of that house. So she is beyond thrilled. She is the ideal client for this program. She's already sent us cookies back to the office and cake. She wrote letters. I really wish she would have done an interview with us. She's a just extremely kind woman who just could not be happier with the guys that did the work on her house, the program in general, and she's someone that's worked her whole life in one capacity or another. This is not she's not any kind of freeloader, and just wants to stay in her home, and just the way it was constructed was prohibitive. So just wanted to kind of tell a few stories of what she told me, and I'm gonna get back with her, maybe this winter. I can't even fathom how much of a drop she's gonna see for what we did to that house. So that's a real good example of what weatherization can do for these for our clients in this area.